Hello, my name is Joey, and welcome to our series called 9 Surefire Ways to Optimize Your Workplace Performance. This is the ultimate guide to healthy computing. This video is all about the risky business of the effects of poor postures at the workstation. And in today's video, you will learn how to determine if you're already at risk. If you're at a computer already, what are you possibly doing that you don't even know that you might be causing long-term problems? Identify the different types of health risks related to your workstation and stay ahead of possible risks. So why is this so important, really? You know, it's frustrating and we know it. We're at a place where we always can't optimize our change our position, and you're frustrated the way you feel. So our work life shouldn't take away from our health, wealth, and happiness. That's the ultimate goal. Longevity in the workplace means longevity in your earning potential. That's the truth. If you stay healthy, you have potential for growth and more prosperity in your work environment. And don't be that person that knows what to do, but really never did anything about it. Job security requires healthy choices. That's what we're going to be going over a lot today to keep you employed, happy, and healthy. This video is going to help you stay informed so you can determine your needs before it's too late. Understand that it's more than how you feel, so you can stay in control of your health, and recognize the risk so you can prevent long-term damage. So injuries can be caused in many ways, as you know. There's contact stress, we'll get into that. Force injuries, that's pretty straightforward. Muscular skeletal disorders, that's our muscles and our bones. And repetitive strain or repetitive stress injuries that really are centered around what we do every day repetitively. And of course, eye strain, which is a big issue that causes a lot of discomfort, headaches, things like that. But let's jump right into contact stress. Now, contact stress, there's a couple different types. There's internal, when a tendon or nerve blood vessel is stretched or bent around a bone or tendon of your own, and you suffer from internal contact stress. When a body parts that rubs against a component or device in the workstation, like a chair, seat, or desk edge, you may suffer from external contact stress that can lead to irritation of the nerves and blood vessels and so forth. There are a number of different types of contact stress. Stress in your forearms, resting on the edge of a table. The nerves of your forearms are affected. Numbness, tingling in your hands, sometimes hitting your funny bone. If blood circulation is cut off by contact, it can lead to different problems and may experience pain and numbness in your legs. If your wrist, and when you're writing or typing and things like that, is bent for long periods of time, it may cause repetition in your finger motion, and tendons may be damaged. So that's what we call contact stress. Very straightforward there. Let's talk about force injuries. Now, a lot of times when we think about the force, we're not talking about Star Wars, but in this case, the force is a strenuous physical exertion, such as lifting or pushing heavy objects. Computer work seldom requires this type of exertion, I'm sure, but there are tasks that require exertion or concentrated force, if you will, to affect smaller localized muscle groups, such as using a pointing device. Your finger and forearm can become very strained. Placing your mouse far away and you reach for it, it's causing a strain in your shoulders and your neck, and over time it wears things down. So very strenuous activity, exertion, maybe even positioning of your monitor too high. So pretty much any task that requires the concentrated force affecting a smaller joint. Typically when these injuries happen, the first point of pain is in the muscle, but then the tendon, which attaches to the muscle, to the bone, can also be affected. Localized pain, stiffness, and tenderness are sometimes symptoms indicating that really there's a muscle tendon problem going on and it's reached its capacity. And that leads to muscular skeletal disorders. Now, the MSDs, as they're known, can range from general aches and pains to more strenuous problems and more serious problems. So medical practitioners do recommend that everyone who uses a computer regularly should report these signs and symptoms early as possible. And some of those signs and symptoms are the numbness and tingling and burning sensation in the hand, some of the reduced grip strength, It can be found that's usually a sign of some type of neurological impingement or even just muscle fatigue, swelling or stiffness in the joints. You have pain in the wrist and forearms, elbows, necks, and back, following the discomfort. And then you reduce range of motion, which is a big key. You have some dryness and itching in the eyes, blurred or double vision. We're talking about the eye strain again. Cramping, loss of color in affective region, weakness, and tendons and stress and stuff like that. So what can be really these problems can be caused by many factors. You maintain an unnatural posture, very unhealthy posture. Lower back support is inadequate. We need some support for our lower back if we're sitting. You sit in the same position for extended period of times. That's going to add up without some movement. So we're going to talk about some strategies there later on. And then the setup of your workstation is not ergonomically set up correctly. It's very poor in that sense. So it should be noted that all these symptoms might be not necessarily lead to MSDs, but however, if you experience these symptoms, you should evaluate all these things, like your postures, your workstation layout. Prevention is always better than the cure. It's always better that you take precautions to avoid these musculoskeletal disorders than to treat them after the fact, of course. Some general precautions include more, as we'll go over on in the future, but really it's going to be all about the prevention and what we can do to avoid these issues. So repetitive strain or repetitive stress injuries is all about repetition. So many of the tasks that we do are very highly repetitive. We're like little robots that perform the same repetitive things and facing a flat screen in front of us. Scary, I know. But back in the day when using a typewriter, inherently these force you to take micro breaks actually and add paper and retasking and doing different things. With computers, it's eliminated these micro breaks and it's becoming more and more sedentary. The use of the mouse for hours and hours, and you can get a lot more done than a typewriter, of course, but that also means you're not taking any breaks. So proficient typists have been known to type more than 18,000 keystrokes per hour. These repetitive motions can cause tendons and a tendon sheath. They were wrapping around these, causing injuries to those areas, especially in the wrist when they are bent. So keep that in mind. Some of the chief complaints around the computer are the upper limbs, neck, shoulders, back. These RSIs, repetitive strain or stress injuries, are also tendinosynovitis. Those are very tendinous injuries connecting, again, your bone to your muscle. So some of these signs and symptoms are the constant pain, really in your elbows, your shoulders, your neck, like we talked about, cramping and tingling, numbness, clumsy hand movement, actually, decreased dexterity, like the inability to fasten buttons or use, dexterity in your fingers is a sign. The most common seen in this group is a carpal tunnel syndrome. We talked about tendinosynovitis, bursitis, white limb, as it's called, and shoulder pain. Of course, consult an orthopedic surgeon. These are definitely usually more complex cases, and don't just diagnose yourself. A doctor will make a diagnosis based on your history and clinical findings. Nerve conduction studies can help also with the diagnosis of some of these nerve entrapments. If a diagnosis is already made, and made early enough, you can change a lot of things to alleviate before it gets down the path of surgery, but it might be necessary if it goes too far. Let's talk about these very important round things in our face called eyes. Eye strain is probably the most common issue when using a computer. It's referred to as VSC, or computer vision syndrome. The American Ophthalmologist Association defines CSV as a complex of eye and vision problems when you're experienced during, especially related to long periods of computer use. So when viewing a screen, of course, there's a lot going on with the eye refocusing subtly but continuously, so it causes those little muscles in our eyes to become strained. One of these ways to combat this is switching your attention from time to time, having enough distance away from your computer to your eyes so you're not constantly trying to refocus. And then some of the symptoms really are, as you probably can imagine, very visually involved. Visual fatigue, blurred or double vision, burning, watering eyes. So blinking is very important. but there's 22 blinks, they say, per minute that should be done. But when you're often at a computer, it's very hard to get those blinks in. So there's no evidence really for permanent eye damage. It can cause some headaches, some achiness, but and even a sign would be frequent changes in prescription glasses. If you're finding yourself having to go up and down and change your prescriptive lenses, that's one of the signs. But this may cause temporary effects. It can reduce productivity, cause loss of time at work, and reduce job satisfaction and self-confidence. In most cases, eye strain results from visual fatigue or glare from bright windows or strong lit sources of light reflecting off displays and poor display screen contrast. And we'll get more and more on how to avoid these things, but I wanted you to be very aware that these are real problems, and if you're experiencing these, you're not alone. So to recap, we know, of course, there's problems, sometimes major, that come from these computing occupations that we have. But the cool part is there are solutions, tons of them, major ones, that are quick and easy that you can start today. Those solutions are going to be in our future videos, and I really look forward to sharing those with you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks again for watching. Hey, before you go, if you enjoyed this content, you would probably benefit from our introductory massage package we created for new clients. Just click the Learn More button below to find out more. Thanks again for watching.